In this metal guide for the Ark Survival Ascended Aberration map, I will show you the best and safest metal locations on Aberration. I'll start by showing you some of the best, easy, and safe starter metal locations and some of the richest metal spots in the green zone. Then I'll show you the best safe metal locations in the blue zone with thousands of easy metal and no nameless spawns in them. I will also show you some alternative metal locations on the surface and even a pretty safe metal location in purple. And if you watch to the end, I will show you how to farm thousands of metal per minute in total safety on 1x settings. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and let's get started. Now this is probably the best, safest starter metal location for Ark Survival Ascended Aberration. We've got a bunch of metal here on top of this plateau, and a little bit down at the bottom. We're in the green zone. It's super rare to find safe metal up here, and most of what you'll find around here are raptors, nothing super nasty. And over here you can block off the plateau, build a little starter metal base up here, and be in great shape for metal being respawned in the green zone in one of the safest spots you can get. I'm right here at 33.8, 61.7, and in a second I'll show you an amazing metal spot up here, and then right over here we're at the edge of Blue Zone with some of the best metal locations right in sight of here once we're a little bit more mobile, so ideal starting metal location right here. So from our starter metal location, if we look to the northwest, you're going to see this plateau up in the air. And if we go up to the plateau, this thing is covered in metal. There's just a ton of metal nodes up here, probably like 20 of them, just all over the base of this plateau. There's charge nodes just kind of tucked into all the corners. You've got some really nice metal nodes up here. And I've never seen anything spawn up here. Now, that's not saying it's not possible, but this has been one of the safest metal spots I've ever seen in Aberration. There's a cool spot up here inside the trees. You can build a base once you're more mobile. You get some drops up here. I mean, just really awesome spot to build. And the exact location here is 31.3, 58.7. We're right on the edge of blue, so it's a great base spot all around. Now this spot has probably 20 metal nodes. It's one of the highest concentrations of metal that you can get in Aberration Green Zone, and it's pretty safe compared to most places. At 40.3, 43.2, we've got this cave. There are yeelings that spawn up here, but let me show you how to find that cave. So we're here at this waterfall that drops into the blue zone from green, and if we look up from about 42, 50.8, look up towards the northwest, you'll see this giant crystal coming down from the ceiling and just stabbing into the earth. And if we go right behind that crystal, there's a bunch of trees and then a gap in the ground right at 40.2, 44.2, and that's where we've got tons of metal. Now, a lot of people start at Portal, and I've got good news. There's a little bit of metal up here. If we follow the bridge leading out from the portal, it goes over this land bridge, and at the top of the land bridge is a charge node. And right next to that charge node is actually a pretty decent supply of metal, like 3 or 4 metal nodes right here. And the location is 48.6, 31.8. There's an amazing base spot at the end of this land bridge. Check out my base locations guide to learn more about that. But on the other side of that base spot, we've got one little tiny metal node right here, 41.2, 34.9, right outside your doorstep. And also near Portal, if we go in this direction, there's this big open tree on this huge plateau. You will find a lot of yeeling over here, but right in the middle of this tree at about 37.8, 28.5, there's actually probably 10 metal nodes scattered around the base of this tree too. So some decent metal near Portal right there. Now I'll show you some metal locations in blue that have no nameless, nothing dangerous in them, but before I do, let me just explain. Blue Zone, all of Blue Zone, is one of the best metal locations in Ark, because most of the rocks in blue have metal in them. That's a regular metal node. This is also a metal node. This little kind of pyramid-shaped one on the ground. All of these mushroom-shaped rocks are actually rich metal nodes and have lots of metal in them. The problem with blue is you get Namelss spawning all the time. They're gonna pop out of the ground and make your life generally miserable, but the charge nodes can help you kind of keep them at bay a little bit, make your life a little bit easier. But I'm gonna show you some metal locations in blue that don't have any Namelss at all to deal with. Now this is one of the safest metal locations in Aberration. We're up here right next to the ceiling, so no Namelss spawn this high up in Aberration. And this whole plateau is almost totally safe, hardly anything dangerous appears here, and you can easily dump it off a cliff if it does. And about half the rocks you see are metal nodes. There's also obsidian and a lot of plant Z, things like that. The exact location here is 36.1, 65.3, and the only difficult thing about this is getting up into the trees to access it. You can follow the trees like a roadway up here, but we're actually very close to the green zone. This is a waterfall that comes down from one of the best starting base locations we already showed you. And right over here, you can actually build along this tree, get some foundations up there, and make a little thatch bridge to this branch and walk your way over here. So you can get to this at very early game and get stupid amounts of metal. Another really amazing metal location is up here at about 56.2, 53.4. We've got a charge node that's surrounded by just tons and tons of metal everywhere. You've actually got regular metal nodes up here too, and we're once again up towards the top of the world, so there's not Namelss spawns up here, but there's a lot of areas that you can get safely away from all the nasty creatures and just farm tons of metal. But, you know, once again, we've got actual metal nodes, tons of Blue Zone metal nodes, and ridiculous amounts of resources all around. The one thing you're missing is water, but everything else will give you just all the metal you could possibly need right around this area. This is one of the absolute best metal locations in Aberration. Just about every rock you see here is metal, but we're high enough off the ground that you don't get any Namelss spawning here, and you've got a charge node even if you did. All back in here it stretches back further, and there's a long cave system with a ton more metal and space to build a nice base, but I've never seen anything dangerous spawn on this ledge. There's some dangerous stuff right above it, but and actually lots more metal, but no Namelss at all. The exact location here is 45.2, 63, and as we go down this plateau, there's even more metal down this way, and it takes a while before you actually start to see Namelss spawning up here. And we can go further down here, and there's a huge base area over here with another charge node, tons more metal, but you do start getting Namelss over here, 45, 68.3. This entire region of upper blue is incredible for metal, and we're not that far from green over there. Now this is actually a loot cave. I'll show you how to get to it in a second, but this might be the highest concentration of metal, like, I don't know, anywhere in Ark. So we're here in this giant cave full of all of these huge glowing crystals, and there's an opening right here to the loot cave. And the opening is at 55.2, 66, and you can see there's these two patches of orange flowers connected by a zip line. Go right below this one and head straight down, and we're gonna find an insane amount of metal all the way at the bottom of this cave. We've already got a ton of metal right here, which you can, you know, grab from the water, but head towards the orange crystals and then head up, and we're gonna open up into a chamber with even more metal. All of this purple stuff is already metal nodes, and then we got some regular metal nodes up here on the top, and the whole bottom here is littered with metal. But we're still not even close to done, because if we head down here and look for more glowing orange crystals on the top and head down this chamber, absolutely every glowing rock here is metal. We're also gonna run into tons of gems, crystals, things like that, but the further we go back into this loot cave, the more metal we get. And there is a lot of dangerous stuff. There's seekers, Namelss, things like that, but we haven't stopped seeing metal every couple of feet everywhere we go. So if you get a good harvesting dino back here, you're gonna be just swimming in the metal. Speaking of swimming, there's more metal at the bottom, there's more metal at the top. Just absolutely everywhere in here is full of metal as long as you can deal with the creatures inside. And if you get linked storage from Bob's Tall Tale 2, you can easily get it back to the surface, but depending on your server type, this cave might not be viable for going into, just depending on how things work on your server, since it is a loot cave. But if you can get in here, you have metal for days, all you could ever possibly go through. So at about 53.2, 48.7, there is this huge tunnel that goes all the way down to the bottom of the map. And if we follow that tunnel all the way to the bottom, we're gonna die of radiation sickness without a hazmat suit. There are Namelss and rock drakes everywhere, lots of good resources, but just about every rock is full of metal. I highly recommend not going down here for metal, but if you're already down here to get element, things like that, you can still get a lot of metal. But what I would recommend, there is a spot that's kind of not absolutely horrible. If we face to the southeast a little bit and follow the map that shows the purple area and start going down this tunnel, you'll see this little tunnel snaking off to the side here. And all of this area is still radioactive, but it's full of metal. Just about all the rocks are metal, but there's a lot of nasty stuff. If we go just below that, though, you'll see this glowing lake. And over here at this glowing lake is a ton of metal, tons of polymer plants, things like that. But just about all of this is much, much safer, and you can harvest metal all along this path up here. I'm at about 64.6, 52.8, and this whole area is a whole lot safer, but still lots of good metal as long as you've got a good solid hazmat suit. Now, if you like to walk the fine line between brave and foolish, there is a ton of metal out here in the surface. If you come out here at night, you're not going to immediately burn to a crisp, but you will get immediately killed by reapers. There's reapers everywhere, there's all kinds of nasty stuff out here. So I really don't recommend coming out here, but just about every rock you smash is going to be a metal node out on the surface. Now, in order to access the surface, there's a couple of entrances, but this one is on the edge of blue. So if we come out here to about 41.2, 77.5, and kind of go past these blue trees, you'll start to see a red tint, some red mushrooms, and if we follow the red and keep going further, you'll eventually get to the surface, but don't say I didn't warn you. Now, before we wrap up our metal guide, this is the ridiculous trick to gather thousands of metal per minute using Ankies and a Carcanos. And the basic gist of it is you need to pick up your Ankies with the Carcanos and drag them over to any of these blue zone rocks that have metal in them, and the Ankies will auto-harvest them crazy fast. There's a lot of better tips and tricks I can give you in a full guide, and I'm actually working on that right now. So make sure you subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for all notifications so that you'll see it when it comes out and you can watch the full guide on the fastest way to farm metal in Aberration. But the real key to gathering metal efficiently is finding a safe spot to get all the metal from. And hopefully this guide helped out with that. If it did, please give it a thumbs up so it can help other people, and please drop a comment and let me know which of these metal locations you're using to get all the metal you need in your Ark Survival Ascended Aberration adventures. And I will keep making resource guides for Aberration as fast as I can, so keep an eye out for those, and we'll see you in the next video.